All right, so as I was talking about before at the start of the last video, the exposure is your aperture and your shutter speed working together. So it's intensity times time, okay? So the quality of the light, the intensity of the light that's being let in, and the amount of time that it's let in. Okay, so exposing pictures properly, letting in the right amount of light, okay? So here we have the shutter speeds and the aperture work together to control the amount of light that reaches the light-sensitive surface. The ISO you have selected for the sensor in the digital camera, or the ISO of your rating, okay? So how sensitive is that sensor? And then how do you meter and then set the camera's controls that you get the right picture? So the sun is bouncing off the car, and how do you set the camera to get what you need? All right, so again, let's talk a little bit about what the camera sees, okay? So in the viewfinder, you see a parrot, okay? And you're like, I love this parrot, okay? And over here, this is kind of old-timey. I don't think they look like that anymore. But you used to see, like, it would give you, by suggesting the shutter speed, it would say, okay, 30 would work, set at f5.6, okay? And this is what the meter sees, okay? And again, the light meter is assuming that what you're pointing it at is a blend of all those gray tones or all of those colors, okay? So like it thinks that it's seeing a light meter, all right? And I know that might seem complicated, but just trust me, okay? Because the camera's trusting you to point it at, places or things or pictures that give you a good average, okay? So you figure, like, if you took this parrot and smeared him, he would be a nice average of tones that kind of create that. Okay, there's different types of meters. I'm going to skip over that. You can read through that. But how the meter works, here's like an old-timey vintage meter, a handheld meter. So you need a light meter in order to consistently correct exposures so that the pictures are neither too light nor too dark. Okay, so if it's too light or too dark, it's commonly referred to under or overexposed. And those can be corrected in the computer. Okay, so if you get like a shot and that you like really want to work, you usually can fix it in the computer. Light meters vary in design, but they all perform the same function. They measure the amount of light for a given film speed. They calculate f-stop and shutter speed combination that will produce a correct exposure for a scene that has an average distribution of light and dark tones. Light meters average the tones. Okay, so again, meter designers assume that the most scenes, which consist of a variety of colors and tones, including very dark, medium, and very light values, average out to a medium gray. Most scenes, in fact, do. Okay, that's the good thing, is that most scenes do have all that. I'm walking down the street, there's a house, there's a street, there's a tree, there's a sky. That my light meter is going to work fine. But there's going to be some scenes that don't, okay? And the meter is going to be tricked, all right? So like 99% of the time, your meter is going to be okay, okay? How to get good results. An overall reading works well for metering average scenes, light and dark. But a meter is only a measuring device. It's not interpreting what it reads, okay? So if I point my camera at the sun, it's not like, hey man, don't do that. It's like, okay, this is what I think you're doing. I don't know what you're doing, okay? Nor does it know whether the scene is average, okay? In some cases, you have to think for the meter. And that's like what I'm trying to stress with this part, or with this exercise, is that you got to kind of be able to use the tool and think for it. So the meter is expecting the scene it is being to middle gray. You can always check a scene using your gray card. All right, the gray card is a perfect middle gray, meaning that it reflects 18% of the light falling on it. The light meters are calibrated for that. So a gray card reading produces an accurate exposure if the card is placed so that it is lit from the same angle as the subject. Okay? So here's this guy down here holding his gray card. He's going to photograph these flowers and he's checking it with his camera. Okay? What the light meter looks like in your camera. Okay? This is the typical readout on the back of your camera. I think this is for like what a Nikon looks like. So here's the light meter right here. Okay? So the ISO is set to 100. Note the light meter that it goes from -2 stops to +2, sorry. It shows, so here's the f-stop. It shows, well, at f2.8, 1/22nd, 1/20th, almost works. That's close enough. So basically you want to get that flashing dot in the middle. Okay? So that's pretty close. So sometimes you might see your dots like jacked up on this side or on this side. Okay? So if it's over here, you got to let in more light. Okay? So that means like change your f-stop to like a lower number, or you could change your shutter to be slower. Okay? So again, like you got to kind of think, if you're off over here, you're letting in too much light. Okay? So you'd have to switch it the other way. These are the two common representations of a light meter. Here we have a Canon. Oh, was that a Canon up there then? Yeah, I guess so. They were close. All right, and then here we have, this is the Nikon. Okay, and it's like a 0, and then it's just plus and a minus. So it flips. It's always so annoying. Okay. And it tells you the f-stop here, and it tells you the shutter speed here. Okay, so that's like a 320th of a second. That's really fast, that exposure here. That's correct. So like if he wanted more depth of field, he could definitely jack that up, okay, to like f16, and then he would have room of here, okay, to bring that down. Here, yeah, 4,000th of a second. All right, that's crazy fast. He could shoot at like, you know, I don't know, f40 probably, and still get away with it. Okay, because he has all that shutter speed, you know. But it depends what he wants to do. All right, is this person photographing a sporting event? They want really fast. You know, that's really fast too. Okay. All right, so these are kind of like the back of the camera, but this is like kind of what it might look like inside your viewfinder. Okay. So you got this. To get that right exposure, just line that hash mark up. All right, again, this is how it should read. Correct. Okay. Doo-doo. Underexposed. Overexposed. Nikon's a little different. This is what it might look like in your viewfinder. It's got the 0. Overexposure, optimal, underexposure. Old film cameras, not that you care, but it used to be this bobbin needle. Whoa. Pentax K1000. This is for an old student I had. Okay, so this is what a setting that might fool the light meter. Again, white on white. You know, I'm shooting like a white wall with a piece of notepaper on it. White notepaper. Okay? That could trick my light meter. This could also fool my light meter. This dead body in a dark room. I don't know. Okay? So like black on black. Okay? Sound like shooting, you know, again, like a black fence that's like in the shade. You know, it's like, you're going to be in these situations where you got to think, okay? And you got to be able to, what do I do? You know, common problems. You can read through this on your own, okay? But you have control, okay? You decide, do you want this picture or do you want that picture? All right? It's up to you what's happening. Let us review. Slow shutter speed, fast. Large aperture, small aperture. Short focal length, long focal length. Okay, that would be like zooming in and out. All right. I'm going to have another PowerPoint PDF video that goes over the gray card part. And you can look at that, and that talks a little bit more about metering. But the basic idea with your camera is start trying to manipulate it, okay? Working in manual and just practice, you know, spend a day practicing metering, okay? Look for these things, okay? Look for that and just kind of see like, well, how do I, you know, first off, you might not even know how to change your shutter speed. How do you change your shutter speed on the camera? Okay, so get the manual. How do you change the f-stop? Get the manual. Okay, you can always email me with questions. But first, for this project, become familiar with making these things work.